Have you ever wondered what dark secrets might be hidden behind the glittering lives of TikTok stars? What if the fame and fortune came at a chilling price? Welcome to the harrowing world of the 7 million TikTok cult. The Netflix documentary Dancing for the Devil has pulled back the curtain on a shocking tale of manipulation and exploitation. In this video, we'll dive into the disturbing allegations against 7 Million Films, the management company accused of controlling and exploiting TikTok dancers in ways that defy belief. From psychological torment to financial exploitation, the revelations are as captivating as they are horrifying. 7 Million Films, a company that once promised stardom to talented TikTok dancers, quickly became a powerhouse in the influencer world. They helped dancers gain millions of followers and secure lucrative deals, all while crafting an image of success and glamour. But behind this facade, a darker narrative was taking shape. Allegations began to surface that 7M Films was operating more like a cult than a management company, using coercive tactics to maintain control over their stars. Imagine being cut off from your family and friends, with every aspect of your life dictated by those who claim to have your best interest at heart. The dancers under 7 Million Films management faced intense scrutiny and were subjected to grueling schedules, all designed to benefit the company more than themselves. These young influencers who enchanted millions with their talent and charisma found themselves ensnared in a web of manipulation and control. Stay with us as we explore the sinister side of social media fame, where the pursuit of stardom can lead to unimaginable exploitation. This story is not just about a company, it's about lives shattered and voices silenced. Let's uncover the truth behind the 7 million TikTok cult. You won't want to miss this. To understand the depth of the 7 million TikTok cult scandal, we need to delve into the origins and operations of 7 million films. Founded with the promise of transforming talented TikTok dancers into global sensations, 7 Million Films quickly gained a reputation for its ability to elevate influencers to stardom. The company managed several high-profile TikTok personalities, helping them amass millions of followers and secure lucrative brand deals. The initial success of 7 Million Films was impressive. By leveraging the viral nature of TikTok, the company was able to push its managed influencers to the forefront of social media, creating household names almost overnight. Dancers under their management enjoyed unprecedented growth in their online presence, with many achieving viral fame and commercial success. This meteoric rise cemented 7 Million Films as a leading force in the influencer management industry. However, beneath this shiny exterior, troubling signs began to emerge. Allegations surfaced that 7 Million Films was not merely a management company but operated more like a cult. These claims initially seemed far-fetched, as the world of social media is often filled with sensational stories. However, as more dancers and their families came forward with their experiences, a disturbing pattern of behavior began to take shape. Former dancers reported that 7 Million Films exerted an alarming level of control over their personal and professional lives. The company dictated not only their social media content, but also their daily routines, personal interactions, and even living arrangements. This level of control extended far beyond typical management practices, raising serious ethical and legal questions. The controversy reached a boiling point when dancers started speaking out about their experiences with 7 Million Films. They described a working environment that was more akin to a high-pressure cult than a professional management firm. The dancers were reportedly subjected to intense psychological pressure, with the company employing tactics such as gaslighting and emotional manipulation to keep them in line. This created an environment where the dancers felt wholly dependent on the company for both their professional success and personal well-being. One of the most shocking aspects of the allegations was the isolation of the dancers from their families and friends. 7 million films allegedly discouraged or outright prevented contact with outside influences, fostering a closed environment where the dancers became increasingly isolated. This isolation made it easier for the company to maintain control and made the dancers more susceptible to manipulation. Financial exploitation was another critical element of the controversy. Reports indicated that 7 million films took a significant cut of the dancers' earnings, often leaving them with very little despite their hard work and popularity on social media. This financial strain added to the already heavy psychological burden, trapping the dancers in a cycle of exploitation and control.
The release of the Netflix documentary Dancing for the Devil brought these issues into the public eye, sparking widespread debate about the darker side of social media fame and the potential for exploitation by those in positions of power. The documentary featured interviews with former dancers, experts in cult behavior, and family members, painting a comprehensive picture of the alleged abuses and adding credibility to the claims against 7 million films.
As the public reaction to the documentary grew, it prompted calls for greater scrutiny of social media management practices and protections for young influencers. The 7 million TikTok cult scandal highlighted the vulnerabilities of young social media stars and the need for ethical guidelines in the rapidly evolving digital landscape. In summary, the story of 7 million films is a cautionary tale about the potential dangers lurking behind the pursuit of social media stardom. The company's rise and fall serve as a stark reminder of the importance of transparency, ethics, and the well being of individuals in the age of digital influence. The allegations against 7 million films paint a disturbing picture of manipulation and control that goes far beyond the usual boundaries of influencer management. The company is accused of employing a variety of coercive tactics to maintain a tight grip on the lives of the dancers. It managed, transforming what should have been professional relationships into something far more sinister and controlling. One of the primary ways 7 million films exerted control was through the meticulous dictation of the dancers' social media activity. The company reportedly dictated not only the type of content the dancers posted, but also the timing and frequency of their posts. This micromanagement extended to the captions, hashtags, and even the comments they made on other social media posts. The dancers were essentially turned into puppets, their online personas carefully crafted to maximize engagement and profitability for the company. Beyond social media, 7 million films allegedly controlled personal interactions. The dancers were reportedly instructed on who they could interact with and how they should conduct themselves both online and offline. This included limitations on personal relationships, friendships, and even family connections. The company is said to have fostered an environment where any outside influence was viewed as a potential threat to their control. This isolation tactic ensured that the dancers remained dependent on the company for both their personal and professional lives. Living arrangements were another area where 7 million films allegedly exerted significant control. The company reportedly housed many of its dancers in company controlled accommodations where they could be closely monitored. These living arrangements were designed to reinforce the company's dominance, making it easier to manage and manipulate the dancers. The controlled environment created a sense of constant surveillance, leaving the dancers feeling like they were always being watched and judged. One former dancer recounted how 7 million films controlled every aspect of her life. She described a daily routine that was dictated by the company from the moment she woke up to the moment she went to bed. Her schedule was packed with rehearsals, content creation sessions, and promotional activities, leaving little time for personal pursuits or rest. The pressure to perform and meet the company's expectations was immense, and failure to comply often resulted in harsh reprimands or penalties. The psychological manipulation employed by 7 million films was also deeply troubling. Dancers were reportedly subjected to gaslighting, a tactic where the company would manipulate them into doubting their own perceptions and experiences. This created an environment where the dancers felt increasingly dependent on the company for validation and guidance. The constant questioning of their own reality eroded their self esteem and made them more susceptible to further manipulation. Another dancer described the emotional toll of being constantly monitored and controlled. She felt that her entire identity was being shaped by the company, and any attempt to assert her independence was met with resistance. The company allegedly used fear and intimidation to maintain control, making it clear that any deviation from their directives would result in severe consequences. This created a culture of fear where dancers felt they had no choice but to comply with the company's demands. The level of control extended to the dancers' financial lives as well. 7 million films allegedly took a substantial portion of the dancers' earnings, leaving them with minimal financial independence. This financial control further entrenched the dancers' dependence on the company, as they were often left without the means to support themselves independently. The financial exploitation was compounded by the psychological manipulation, creating a vicious cycle that was difficult for the dancers to escape. In some cases, dancers were reportedly coerced into signing contracts that gave 7 million films extensive control over their careers and personal lives. These contracts often included clauses that were heavily skewed in favor of the company with little regard for the well being or autonomy of the dancers. The legal entanglements made it even harder for dancers to break free from the company's grip, trapping them in a cycle of exploitation and control. The allegations against 7 million films highlight a deeply troubling abuse of power. The company's manipulation and control tactics went far beyond the norms of influencer management, creating a toxic environment where dancers were exploited for profit. This dark side of social media stardom serves as a cautionary tale about the potential dangers of unchecked power in the digital age. The stories of these dancers are a stark reminder of the importance of ethical practices and the need for greater protections for young influencers in the rapidly evolving world of social media. The psychological abuse allegedly perpetrated by 7 million films is one of the most disturbing aspects of the 7 million TikTok cult scandal. The company is accused of employing a range of manipulative tactics designed to undermine the mental health and autonomy of the dancers it managed. These tactics, which included gaslighting and emotional manipulation, created a toxic environment that left many dancers feeling isolated, confused, and dependent on the company. Gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation where the abuser attempts to make the victim doubt their own perceptions and reality, was reportedly a common tactic used by 7 million films. Dancers described being subjected to a constant barrage of mixed messages and contradictions that left them questioning their own judgment. For instance, they might be praised for their work one moment and then harshly criticized for the same behavior shortly after. This inconsistency created a sense of instability and self doubt, making the dancers more reliant on the company for guidance and validation. One former dancer recounted her experience with gaslighting at 7 million films. She described how the company would frequently change expectations and goals without warning, then blame her for not meeting these ever shifting standards. This left her feeling perpetually inadequate and anxious as she was never sure what was expected of her. The constant second guessing eroded her confidence and made her feel like she could never do anything right, no matter how hard she tried. Emotional manipulation extended beyond gaslighting. The company reportedly used tactics such as love bombing, where they would shower dancers with excessive praise and attention to create a sense of indebtedness and loyalty. This initial phase of positive reinforcement was often followed by periods of neglect or harsh criticism, creating a cycle of emotional highs and lows that kept the dancers off balance and desperate for approval. Another dancer shared her story of how 7 million films exploited her vulnerabilities. When she first joined the company, she was at a low point in her life and felt grateful for the opportunity to be part of such a successful team. The company initially treated her like a star, praising her talent and potential. However, this quickly shifted as they began to isolate her from her support network, insisting that she cut ties with anyone who was not part of the 7 million films family. This isolation made her increasingly dependent on the company for emotional support, which they manipulated to maintain control over her. The emotional manipulation also included creating a sense of fear and urgency. Dancers were reportedly told that their careers would collapse without the company's guidance, that they would be forgotten or replaced if they did not comply with the company's demands. This fear of losing their hard earned fame and success kept many dancers in line even when they knew they were being mistreated. One dancer described the immense pressure she felt to conform to the company's expectations. She was constantly reminded of the millions of followers she had gained thanks to 7 million films and was made to feel that she owed all her success to them. The company used this leverage to justify their intrusive control over her personal and professional life. Any attempt to assert her independence was met with guilt trips and reminders of how much the company had done for her. The emotional abuse took a significant toll on the mental health of the dancers. Many reported feeling chronic anxiety, depression, and a pervasive sense of helplessness. The constant manipulation and control left them feeling trapped, unable to see a way out of the toxic environment created by 7 million films. Some dancers even described experiencing panic attacks and other severe stress related symptoms as a result of the ongoing psychological pressure. In interviews for the Netflix documentary Dancing for the Devil, several former dancers opened up about the long term effects of the psychological abuse they endured. They spoke about how it had taken years to rebuild their confidence and sense of self worth after leaving the company. The emotional scars left by the manipulation and gaslighting were deep and enduring, impacting their ability to trust others and themselves. The psychological abuse allegedly inflicted by 7 million films is a stark reminder of the darker side of social media stardom. It highlights the vulnerabilities of young influencers who, in their quest for fame and success, can become prey to manipulative practices that exploit their dreams and aspirations. The stories of these dancers underscore the urgent need for greater oversight and ethical standards in the management of social media talent, ensuring that the pursuit of digital fame does not come at the expense of personal well being and mental health. One of the most insidious tactics allegedly employed by 7 million films was the systematic isolation of dancers from their families and friends. This isolation strategy was crucial in maintaining control over the dancers as it severed their connections to outside support and made them more dependent on the company. Dancers under 7 million films management were reportedly encouraged and sometimes outright forced to cut ties with their loved ones. The company created an environment where any influence from outside the organization was viewed as a threat to their control. Dancers were told that their families and friends would not understand the demands of their new careers or might try to dissuade them from pursuing their dreams. This narrative fostered distrust and alienation, making the dancers feel that the company was their only true support system. One dancer recounted how 7 million films pressured her to move into company provided housing far from her family. She initially resisted, wanting to stay close to her support network. However, the company persisted, arguing that living with other dancers would foster a sense of community and enhance her career. Eventually, she relented, moving into the isolated environment where she was constantly monitored and controlled. These living arrangements were designed to keep the dancers within the company's sphere of influence. By housing them together, 7 million films could easily supervise their activities and reinforce company doctrines. This close proximity made it difficult for dancers to seek outside help or even recognize the extent of the manipulation they were experiencing. The constant surveillance and lack of privacy further eroded their sense of autonomy and individuality. The impact of this isolation on the dancer's mental health was profound. Being cut off from family and friends left many dancers feeling lonely and vulnerable. The lack of external support meant that they had no one to turn to when they experienced stress or doubts about their situation. This isolation intensified their dependence on the company as it became the only source of validation and support in their lives. One former dancer described how the isolation led to severe depression. She felt trapped and unable to reach out to her family for fear of reprisal from the company. The constant pressure to perform and meet the company's demands, coupled with the lack of emotional support, drove her to a breaking point. She recounted nights spent crying alone in her room, feeling utterly helpless and disconnected from the world outside. Another dancer shared a similar story, highlighting how the isolation tactics affected her self esteem and mental health. Being constantly surrounded by other dancers who were also under the company's control created a competitive and high pressure environment. There was little room for genuine friendships or mutual support as everyone was vying for the company's approval. This lack of authentic connections further deepened the sense of isolation and emotional distress. The psychological toll of this isolation was not limited to feelings of loneliness. It also affected the dancers' ability to trust others and themselves. Many found it difficult to form new relationships or rebuild old ones after leaving the company. The fear of judgment and the ingrained belief that they were alone in their struggles made it challenging to reconnect with the outside world. The isolation tactics allegedly used by 7 million films serve as a stark reminder of the potential dangers in the world of social media management. The deliberate severing of personal connections to maintain control over influencers is a deeply unethical practice that can have long lasting effects on individuals' mental health and well being. The stories of these dancers highlight the need for better oversight and ethical standards in the industry to protect young talent from such manipulative and harmful tactics. The financial exploitation of dancers by 7 million films is one of the most glaring aspects of the alleged abuse within the 7 million TikTok cult. The company reportedly profited immensely at the expense of the dancers who were left with little despite their hard work and growing fame. This financial exploitation further entrenched the dancers' dependence on the company, creating a cycle of manipulation and control. 7 million films is accused of taking an exorbitant percentage of the dancers' earnings, leaving them with minimal financial independence. The company reportedly structured contracts heavily in its favor, ensuring that a significant portion of the revenue generated from sponsorships, brand deals, and social media monetization went directly to the company. These contracts often included hidden fees and vague terms that dancers, many of whom were young and inexperienced, did not fully understand. One specific case involves a dancer who managed to amass millions of followers on TikTok, generating substantial income through brand partnerships and sponsored content. However, despite her apparent success, she found herself struggling financially. According to her contract with 7 million films, the company took up to 70% of her earnings, leaving her with only a fraction of what she earned. This high percentage, coupled with additional fees for management services, meant that her actual take home pay was shockingly low. The company also reportedly manipulated revenue streams to their advantage. For instance, they would negotiate lucrative deals on behalf of the dancers, but then take a disproportionate share of the profits. In some cases, dancers were not even aware of the total amount paid by brands and sponsors, as the company would withhold financial details. This lack of transparency made it impossible for dancers to understand their true financial situation or contest the terms set by the company. Another dancer recounted how she was coerced into signing a contract that included a non negotiable clause, allowing 7 million films to take a significant cut from all her future earnings even after leaving the company. This clause ensured that the company continued to profit from her work long after their professional relationship ended. She felt trapped, knowing that her financial future was indefinitely tied to a company that had already exploited her for years. The financial strain on the dancers was exacerbated by the company's control over their personal expenses. Dancers living in company provided housing were often charged exorbitant rent and additional living costs, further depleting their earnings. This tactic ensured that even the money dancers managed to keep was funneled back into the company's coffers, leaving them in a constant state of financial dependence and insecurity. In addition to direct financial exploitation, the company's control over the dancers' personal lives meant they had little opportunity to pursue other revenue streams independently. Dancers were often contractually barred from engaging in any work outside of the company's purview, effectively monopolizing their talent and earning potential. This restriction stifled their ability to diversify their income and achieve financial independence. The financial exploitation by 7 million films not only impacted the dancers' immediate financial well being but also had long term consequences on their careers and mental health. Many dancers reported feeling demoralized and hopeless, knowing that their hard work was benefiting the company far more than themselves. The constant financial pressure added to the psychological burden of isolation and manipulation, making it even more challenging for dancers to break free from the toxic environment. In interviews featured in the Netflix documentary Dancing for the Devil, several former dancers detailed the profound impact of this financial exploitation. They spoke about the long term debt they incurred, the sacrifices they made, and the dreams that were dashed due to the company's greed. These stories highlight the urgent need for reform in the management of social media influencers, ensuring that young talent is protected from such predatory practices. The 7 million TikTok cult scandal is a stark reminder of the darker side of social media fame. The financial exploitation of dancers by 7 million films underscores the need for greater transparency, ethical standards, and legal protections in the industry. It is a call to action to safeguard the well being and rights of influencers in the digital age.
The release of the Netflix documentary Dancing for the Devil has had a profound impact on public perception of the 7 million TikTok cult scandal. The documentary, which provides an in-depth look at the allegations against 7 million films, has sparked widespread outrage and concern. Viewers were shocked by the extent of the manipulation and exploitation described by former dancers, and the revelations have prompted calls for greater oversight and accountability in the influencer management industry.
Public reaction to the documentary has been overwhelmingly supportive of the dancers who came forward to share their stories. Social media platforms were flooded with messages of solidarity and outrage as viewers expressed their disbelief and anger at the abuses detailed in the film. Many called for legal action against 7 million films and demanded industry wide reforms to protect young influencers from similar exploitation. Expert opinions featured in the documentary added weight to the dancers' allegations. Psychologists and experts in cult behavior provided insights into the tactics used by 7 million films, explaining how psychological manipulation and isolation can deeply affect individuals' mental health and autonomy. These expert analyses helped viewers understand the severity of the situation and the need for intervention. Interviews with former dancers and their family members were among the most powerful elements of the documentary. These personal stories brought a human element to the scandal, highlighting the real life impact of 7 million films practices. Family members described the pain of watching their loved ones suffer under the company's control, while former dancers spoke candidly about the long term effects of the abuse they endured. One former dancer, who played a central role in the documentary, shared how she struggled with severe anxiety and depression as a result of the manipulation and isolation tactics. Her story, along with those of others, painted a vivid picture of the psychological toll taken by the company's practices. These first-hand accounts resonated deeply with viewers, prompting widespread empathy and support. The documentary also prompted discussions about the broader implications of social media fame and the potential for exploitation in the digital age. Viewers began to question the ethics of influencer management and the responsibilities of companies that profit from young talent's success. This public discourse is a crucial step towards creating a safer and more ethical environment for influencers. In response to the documentary, some industry insiders have called for stricter regulations and better support systems for influencers. Suggestions include mandatory mental health resources, transparent contract practices, and legal protections against exploitation. The scandal has highlighted the urgent need for reform and the importance of safeguarding the well being of those who pursue careers in the highly competitive and often precarious world of social media. The 7 million TikTok cult scandal has unveiled a dark side of social media fame that many were unaware of. Through psychological manipulation, financial exploitation, and systematic isolation, 7 million films allegedly controlled and exploited the young talents under its management. The Netflix documentary, Dancing for the Devil, has brought these issues to light, prompting widespread public outrage and calls for reform. The key points of this scandal include the extensive control 7 million films exerted over the dancers' lives, the psychological and emotional abuse they endured, and the financial exploitation that left many in precarious situations. The personal stories shared by former dancers and their families have highlighted the severe impact of these practices on individuals' mental health and well being. This scandal underscores the need for greater transparency and ethical standards in the management of social media influencers. It serves as a stark reminder of the potential dangers that young talents face in their pursuit of fame and success. The public's reaction to the documentary indicates a growing awareness and demand for change within the industry. As we reflect on the implications of this scandal, it is crucial to support efforts to protect influencers from exploitation and abuse. Watching Dancing for the Devil on Netflix provides a comprehensive look at this alarming issue and encourages informed discussions about the future of influencer management. If you found this video informative and eye-opening, please consider subscribing to our channel for more content on important social issues. Your support helps us continue to shed light on critical topics and advocate for positive change. Thank you for watching.